Okay. Sid's not here. Marty davened at the 7 o'clock minion this morning.
Yeah.
Okay, learning.
He's next. Sid went home, I guess.
Yeah. Well, his son is with him,
I know
and
that.
practically he's got the doctor's appointments today. Children, year of learning, children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren of Toby Paris, Saratova Bad Yisrael Dov in her memory. Friends of Nina Monester, Nechama Azna Bad Yitzchak Aharon. Many friends of Stephen Vigdala, Zeichen Nishmat Simcha Melech Ben Meir Leib Halevi. Friends of Marcy Kurtz in memory of her great niece, Leah Bracha Bas Rivka. Isaac and Evelyn Blachor in memory of his sister, Chaya Rachel Bas Isser. A month of learning by Malin Haran Haller in memory of his brother Yaakov ben Abraham, by Perry and Jill Meltzer in memory of his parents, Bela Bad Abraham and David ben Fishel Halevi, and that is it. May Neshamas have an Aliyah, Crank Rafia, Velti Shira Shematzliah, Mechol B'nai Israel, a good Gaben Shtia.
Amen.
I think Marty's wife Judy's having hip surgery today.
Tomorrow, actually. He has to bring her into the hospital by 9 o'clock this morning. And tomorrow is the date of the surgery, and she'll be in over then hopefully she's absolutely. I have her name on my list.
You have the pre-testing. This is the pre-refuah.
Okay. All right. So, gentlemen,
we're in the wagons. And
I know. Okay. Although there's a discussion about why they use that term and what it refers to.
Because it's market day and they bring.
Well, that's produce. One explanation. Corin gives a whole nother shot as well. Caravan, and another whole explanation based on a Syriac term that's parallel. So I'm going to give all of them real quick. Okay, gentlemen, our Gemara, all right? On the bottom of your Dalet Amud Beis, Amarle Rabbi Rav Nachman, Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri Damar. What did he say? Ikarabanan Gamliel Afilu Barop Psulinami Machshir. Who is Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri's opinion by? Can't be by Rabban Gamliel. And then he flips it. Maybe it's by Rabbi Yoshua. Afilu Barop Ksherim Nami Pasil. Okay, that also doesn't work. Okay, so Amar Le, Hachi Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Amar Rav. Okay, gentlemen. Okay, so we're now going to say the question. Amar Le Rav Nachman to Rava. Hachi Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav. This is what Rav Yehuda said to Rav. We're on the top of today's daf, Ted Vav, Amud Aleph, Bikronot Shel Tzipori Hayam Ma'aseh. Okay, I've got 3 pshatim on this. Number 1 is that it's wagons and it refers to market day. So it happened that she got raped in the marketplace.
Strangers.
Okay, right. Number 2, it's caravans. And again, it's caravans. It could be strangers. It doesn't have to be strangers. And number 3, another pshat is that the word actually well, we'll get to it in a second. We'll get to a second. Okay? And number 3, that it's the spring, that it actually refers to a place where there was water flowing. Okay? And that's another third pshat on that phrase.
Interesting because that's what the Misa was. She went to draw water.
Exactly.
So that's, Kronos is not adding anything.
Exactly. Right? Okay. Ukata Rabbi Ami. And this could be according to the view of Rabbi Ami, the Amar Rabbi Ami, who says as follows: V'hu shahaita se'ah shel b'nei adam ksherim overet l'sham. So this phrase is that there was a group or contingent of men, okay, who were valid Jews passing there. So that's why, according to one pshat, we thought it was a caravan. Okay, right?
Or the farmers are Jewish who brought in their.
Okay, or the farmers could be, but that I didn't see anybody refer to that
That's
whatsoever. Okay, Ukadarabi Yanai. Okay, all right. Question is, where does Rashi get some of these? Right, that's what I talked about in my course when I taught Rashi last year.
He had a Rebbe.
He had more than one.
I mean, the point is,
but he had more than one. They were all his rebbeim were students of Rabbi Meir of Rottenburg, okay, who was one of the first ones who attempted to edit the Gemara, okay, and so that's who we have to connect the Masorah to, right? In any case, Ukda Rabbi Yanai, like the view of Rabbi Yanai, the Amar Rabbi Yanai, who says, Niv Elet Bekronot Ksheira Lekuhuna, okay, that according to Rabbi Yanai, if she had relations in the Kronot, okay, however, by the spring, which could have been near the marketplace, so that could be one of the connections, okay, or it could be by one of these kosher Jews who was there in the caravan, okay. In any case, he's saying that she would be valid, acceptable to marry Kohen. Bekronot Sagadatach, asks the Gemara. Okay, that he took her into a wagon and that's where they did it, so to speak. Ela niv elet b'sha'at kronot ksheira lekahuna. Okay, but rather that the incident occurred during the time that these caravans were there, or during the time that the marketplace was occurring.
Which doesn't lend us, this Gemara does not lend itself to the third shot you mentioned, that's talking about the water source, because it doesn't
seem to tie into that.
Yeah,
right? Okay, but we'll see. Okay, no, not necessarily. We'll see if there's a connection.
Some foreign language.
He basically. Okay.
No, they had a marketplace in the city square.
Okay, but there is a reason that they come up with that.
Well, the well could have been in the city.
That's right. That's the point.
You could, but it's
all right. So let's go on. But if somebody moved away, was separate from the marketplace or the city area, and he had relations with her, Havlad Shtuki, then we will consider the progeny of that woman a Shtuki, a fatherless child, and Safek Mamzer, regardless of whether it was a townsperson or somebody from the caravans. Okay, and there's a reason I bring in both, right? Kiha dechiat ravdim. Okay. That's Rashi's Masorah, okay? You know, there are times when you look at others, Meiri also gives Pshatim too, okay? Okay, so Ha-dechi Ata Ravdimi, and when Ravdimi comes, Amar Zairi, he said in the name of Zairi, Amar Rabbi Chanina, in the name of Rabbi Chanina. Va'amrela, and others say, Amar Zairi, Amar Rabbi Chanina. It says as follows. Okay, namely leaves out then Rav Dimi. Okay, Holchim achar rov ha'ir. Right, we follow what the majority of the people were in the city. Right, ve'ein holchim achar rov se'ah. But we don't follow the majority of people that were part of that group or contingent. Okay, so the Gemara now responds to that statement in this way. Klape laya. On the contrary, I'm going to translate it that way. Hani naide vahani kviye v'kaime. Here you have those that are passing through, moving, and here you have those that are established and fixed. Okay, right? Ela holchim achar rov ha'ir. Rather, says the Gemara, let's try understand it the following. We follow those who are the majority of the city. Vahu de'ika rov se'ah behada. And here also with the majority of the contingent that are part of them, that are there. In other words, they're also part of the residents of the city. Okay, that would give more weight to the discussion of the fact that it was done in the marketplace. Okay, that point. Ve'ein holchin acharov ha'ir gridata, but we don't follow the majority of the citizens of the city on its own, by itself. Velo acharov sia gridata, and we don't follow the majority of that contingent, a group, by itself. So the implication is, asks the Gemara, Mai Tama, what's the reasoning? Rov seya atu rov ha'ir. The majority of the contingent of the group, okay, leads to, is connected with the majority of the city. V'rov ha'ir nami. And also you have the majority of the city. Okay, so it seems to be implying that we need two majorities here. Okay,
the opposite of respects.
Okay, idika azal inhu legaba, and if it was such that azle inhu legaba, that they went out towards her. Okay, kol de parish miruba parish. Then we would argue and say that what's separated from the majority, that's where it's separated from. So you could base the idea that it was a person from the majority, implying that they were kosher Jews. Okay? Okay? Lo tzricha. No, we cannot say that's the case. Why? Deka'azla ihi legabayhu. That maybe it's a situation where she went out towards them.
They were stationary.
Okay, dahavale kavua. Okay, dahavale, because in this case we might say, okay, that dahavale, that she went towards him who was set, established. Va'amar Rabbi Zera, and Rabbi Zera holds the following: Kol kavua kemechze umechze dami. That when we have a situation where it is fixed, okay, and it is mixed, there we say it's 50-50. Okay, so the Gemara now says, Umi ba'inan tre rube, and do we really need, is it necessary to say that in this kind of a situation, we need a double majority? Bahatanya, aren't we taught elsewhere in a Braita the following? Teisha chanuyot kulan mochrot basar shkuta. 9 stores, and all of them sell properly slaughtered meat. Ve'achat mocheret basar nevela, and one sells meat that is not properly slaughtered. Ve'lakach me'achat mehen, and one purchased meat from one of the stores. Ve'eno yodeya me'ez mehen lakach, and he doesn't know for sure from which store he purchased the meat. Sveiko asur. Okay, then because of his doubt, that meat is forbidden. Ubenimtza, but where it's a situation where he found a piece of meat, what happens? Halach achar haro. Then we can follow the majority. Okay, so the Gemara continues. V'chi tema b'she'ein daltot medina ne'ulot. And if you want to say that in this situation, that the gates of the city, okay, were locked, okay, all right?
They're not locked.
Oh, I'm sorry, that they're not locked,
and
right?
therefore meat could be brought in
right.
from outside the
Okay,
city.
and right, so it's that the
2
gates
rows.
the gates of the city were not locked. The ka'ate la ruba ma'alma, that it's possible that the majority of it could have come in from outside.
But it's
in general,
because they're not going to deliver
we'll see.
treif meat to a city of all Jews.
Where do you see that?
Das ist Teich.
Okay, all right. Vaha amar Rabbi Zera, and Rabbi Zera says, Afal pisha doltot medina neulot. That's right. Despite the fact, okay, that we say here, okay, according to Rabbi Zera, that the gates of the city are locked. Ma'aleh asu b'yuchasin. Okay, that whereas in the meat, okay, all right, okay, whereas in the meat, we could say that the majority of the meat would be kosher, bringing it into such a city. The problem is, remember, Sepphoris was not, Sippori was not, was a mixed city also.
But it was Rove Yehudi.
Right, okay, so what happens? However, says the Gemara, when it comes to Yuchsin, when it comes to lineage, we hold it to a higher standard. That's what we're saying. Okay? Now, let's go on. And that's why we may need the double majority. Okay? Gufa. Let's come back now to a, right? All right? Okay. So coming back now to what we said before. Amar Rabbi Zera. This is Rabbi Zera. Kol kavua kemechza al mechza dami. When the situation is kavua, okay? When it's stationary or fixed, it's a 50-50 situation, okay? Bein lekula, bein lechumra, regardless whether it's for a leniency or for a stringency, right? Mana le, the Rabbi Zera, huh? On what basis is this view of Rabbi Zera? Okay, and Gemara is going to suggest some possibilities. Ilema mitesha chanuyot. Kulan mochrot basar shchuta ve'echad basar nevela. If you're going to say that he bases it on the text where it talked about the 5 stores, nine stores, okay, 9 stores where they all sell, right, meat that's properly slaughtered. Ve'echad basar nevela, okay, and one sells meat that is not properly slaughtered. And he purchased from one of them and doesn't know from which he purchased. Sfeiko asur ubenimtza halach achar harov. Where it's doubtful, we say that meat is forbidden. But where it's simply found, we say it can go after the majority. What happens? Hatam l'chumra. There is a case of stringency, right? Ella, but rather maybe from the following example. Mitisha tzvardeim v'sheretzecha. Here we have 9, let's call them frogs, okay? And one other sheretz, one other creature, right? Among them, right? V'naga be'echad mehen, and he touched one of them. Ve'eno yodea be'eze mehen naga, and he doesn't know which one he touched. Sfeiko tameh. Okay, out of doubt, he is tameh. Yeah, what? A little rain? Okay, right? Hatam nami lechumra. There also, we're saying it's a case of stringency. Okay, so we have 2 examples where it's stringency, which is a little problematic because we said before, it seemed like his 50-50 was both Lakula or Lechumra.
So he keeps giving
examples of Chumra. Exactly. Ella, but rather maybe from another example. Okay? Mitisha Shratzim, Utzvardeya. We've got 9 lizards, I'll call them for the moment. Right? Geckos, who knows?
Geckos aren't a sheret.
Okay, they're not a sheret?
No.
Mice. You call them mice. Mice are a sheret.
Yeah, but you want something that looks fairly similar to the Tzvardeya. So let's use lizards.
You're just brushing against something. Or never
right? But Tzvardeya echad, beinehem, v'naga be'echad mehem, be'ino yodea be'eze mehen naga. And he had contact with one of them, and he didn't know which one he had contact with. Okay, what do we say here? Birishut harabim, when we're talking about the public domain, Sveikotam, Rishut Yachid, I'm sorry, in the private domain, Sveiko Tameh. He is, because of this doubt, he is considered Tameh. Rishut Rabim, in the public domain, Sveiko Tahor. With that doubt, okay, there he is lenient, we are lenient, and therefore we say he's Tahor, okay, and that would be an example of Lakula, right? Umida Oraita Minala. but we still ask the question, okay, all right,
You know that from the
right, how do we know it from the Torah? Amar Kra says a pasuk, it says as follows, V'arev lo v'kam, alav.
love.
Okay, so we say they get mixed, and this one stands out. Ad sheyit kav,
Lo, he's
right,
waiting for him. Arav, the come Allah, and he stands on him to
Stands there.
kill
He's
him.
the guy hiding. And
He's
he's
hiding.
waiting
to
in
kill
ambush.
Shmuel.
Right, waiting in
ambush. Right. Okay, v'arev lo v'kam alav. Right, ad sheyit kavemo. In other words, there must be clear intent here.
They don't.
Okay.
If he kills
He's
the wrong
only
guy,
liable with intent. That's the point, right? V'rabanan, and the rabbis say as follows: Amrei debei Rabbi Yanai. They say in the Academy of Rabbi Yanai, Prat the zorek evan legoy. Okay, with the exception of an example of throwing a
boulder.
stone, okay, into a group, all right, of people there. Okay, in that case, Hechidami, how is that possible? Ilema deika tisha knaanim ve'echad Yisrael b'neihem. If in that group we say there were 9 Canaanites, non-Jews, okay, and 1 Jew, v'tepok le deruba knaanim minhu, and we derive from this that the majority are non-Jews, oinami, or also palga palga, or perhaps in this situation we would say 50-50. Okay, safek nefashot lahakel. In this case, since there's this doubt here in terms of the intent of harming somebody, we're going to be lenient. Lo tzricha. No, we need this. Why? Deika tisha Yisraelim uknani echad b'neihem. That we have a situation where it's 9 Jews and 1 non-Jew, right? Dahava le knaani kavua. And in this case, the non-Jew was fixed, right? V'kol kavua kemechza al mechza dami. In any situation where we have half and it's like half and half, okay, because they're all just standing and the Gentile standing as well. So therefore it's 50-50. Okay, a new piece. Itmar. About this, the following was said. Rav Chia bar Ashi Amar Rav. He says in the name of Rav. Halacha ka Rabbi Yossi. The law is like Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Chanan bar Rabba Amar Rav. And he, Rav Chanan bar Rabba in the name of Rav says, Hora'at sha'ah haita. That this situation, our whole story of the girl who got raped, okay, let's say it was in the general marketplace, okay?
But they let her marry the
Kohen. And that the fact that they let her marry a Kohen, that was only a hora'at sha'ah. Okay? Meitiv Rabbi Yirmiyah. And Rabbi Yirmiyah challenges with the following. Uli Yochasim, lo ba'in and trei rube. But didn't we present earlier in the Gemara that when we're talking about lineage, we need a double majority there? Vahatnan. But didn't we teach, okay, in another Mishnah elsewhere, Matzah batinok mushlach, if one finds an abandoned infant, right? Imrov ovdei kochavim, if the majority of the people are Gentiles, oved kochavim, then we determine that the child is Gentile. Imrov Yisrael, if the majority in the population of the location are Jews, Yisrael, the child is a Jew. Mechza al mechza, but if it's half and half, Yisrael, there we say that the child is Jewish. So that seems to be an example of lineage, but there, okay, we're not saying it's a 50-50 split.
No, we are saying a 50-50 split that we put the kid in.
But that's only a single majority.
Correct. There's no.
So it's not. That's the challenge to the
Right.
issue of Yuchsin. Right. That's the right.
Count the kid.
Okay. So, no, it says Ro. Right. Va'amar Rav, and Rav says Lo shanu ela la'achyuto. Okay, that according to Rav, we only consider him a Jew, okay, in this case, all right, to be sufficient, okay, to provide sustenance for the child. Aval liyuchsin, but to clearly define his lineage, that's not the case. Lo, says no. Ushmuel amar lefakeach alav et hagal. And Shmuel declares him only sufficient enough to be a Jew, theoretically, to save his life in order to remove any stuff that fell on him. And right, that's right. So because one would have to be Mechalel Shabbos, right?
You couldn't consider him a Kohen.
Okay, in either case. The other explanation, okay, it could very well be, okay, and I'm just throwing this out for the moment, that maybe Shmuel might even consider it a mechza situation, okay, and even in that, he would say it doesn't matter whether he's a Jew or not. You still remove the
even if there's the slightest chance.
Still remove the stuff that fell on him on Shabbos.
Okay. Going to say that.
Right. So what happens? Okay. Ishtamitate. All right. He overlooked Had Amar Rabbi Yehuda Amar Rav. That which was said by Rav Yehuda in the name of Rav. Bikronot Shel Tzipuri Hayama Asen. That this incident occurred in either the marketplace or the place where the caravans were stopped and in the center of the city to set up their wares, or even some place where there could have been a important well or water flowing in there, and that's where people would gather to get their water. Okay. Rav Chanan bar Rava, the Amar Hora'at Sha'a Haita Kasha. If that's the case, then according to what Rav Chanan bar Rava says in there, all right, that he claimed this was a Hora'at Sha'a, that's problematic. Here, however, what are we saying here? Man de matneha, lo matneha. Okay, here perhaps the Gemara is suggesting to us that the one who taught it in our Mishnah did not teach the incident in the same way as we're seeing the situation here. All right? Okay. Now we come back. I've got a longer note here, but okay. I'm just looking at in the one ruling in the Mishnah, okay, not teach the incident, okay, among that, and therefore only a single majority.
The Mishnah never mentions the double majority.
Double, right. And therefore, the single majority. In other words, why was the exception made here in this situation? Right. That's the point. Okay? That's the point. So, Gufa, let's come back then to our text.
Father had a shot.
Okay? Matzah batinok mushlach. Let's say that we find this abandoned child, right? Imrov ovdei kochavim. If the majority were Gentiles, right? Oved kochavim. We consider the child a Gentile. Imrov Yisrael. If the majority are Jews, Yisrael is Jewish. Mechze o mechze, Yisrael. Half and half, we're going to say is Jewish. Amar Rav, says Rav, Loch, again, Shanu, Ela lachyoto. We only taught this in terms of to sustain the child. Aval liyuchsin, no. But for lineage, no.
Grows up to let him marry.
What's going to happen is at some point, when he's a gadol, all right, he has to clarify the status. Shmuel Amar, and Shmuel says, L'fakeach alav et hagal. We do it to allow the transgression of Shabbat, in other words, to remove anything that fell on him, whether he's Jew or perhaps Gentile. Umi Amar Shmuel Hachi, and did Shmuel really say this? Va'amar Rav Yosef. And did not Rav Yosef say as follows? Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel. Says Rav Yehuda, again in the name of Shmuel, Ein holchin b'pikuach nefesh achar rov. Okay, in the name of Shmuel, he said, we do not follow in regards to saving lives the practice of simply relying on a majority.
So if the majority were not
Doesn't
Jews, we would go
Still-
ahead and save
still
this
do it.
child.
Right.
As long as there's the slightest chance.
Right? All right. Ki ela ki itmarsh de Shmuel, but rather Shmuel, as was said regarding Shmuel, aresha itmar. It was said on this earlier part of the statement. Imrov of de kochavim oved kochavim. If the majority were Gentiles, the child is still a Gentile. Amar Shmuel, that's where Shmuel is saying, L'fakeach alav et hagal, that we would break Shabbat rules in order to remove the item to save the life. So the Gemara says, Eino chen. That doesn't seem the case. Im rov of de kochavim oved kochavim. If the majority are Gentiles and we say the child is a Gentile, lamai hilchata. What do we mean by this? Give saying that this is the law. Amar Rav Papa, says Rav Papa, he'echilu nevelot. We're saying that then you could feed him non-kosher slaughtered meat. Im rov Yisrael, Yisrael. And if most of the Jews, the majority are Jews, and we say the child is a Jew, lamai hilchata. What's the law then? Amar Rav Papa, says Rav Papa, lahachzir lo aveda. Okay, we would say in that case, it comes to the idea of returning a lost object.
So if you found a diamond in his diaper,
right,
give it to him when he grows up.
Mechza al mechza. When it's half and half, Yisrael, there we said again that we consider the person a Jew. Lamai hilchata, what might be the law here? Amar Reish Lakish, okay, says Reish Lakish, lunazikim, with regards to paying of damages. Echidami, how is that possible? Inema denagche Torah didan le Torah didei. If we're going to say that there was a goring by our ox to his ox, lema le aite raya di Israel. Let us say then that he should bring a proof that he's a Jew. Okay, right? Va'at, you have to bring the proof. Vishikol, and then pay.
You pay the half.
Right? You pay whatever is required by the halach. Okay, lo tricha. No, what we need it for is the following. Did nagche Torah didei the Torah didan palga mishalem. Namely, that it was his ox that gored our ox, and there's therefore half must be paid.
A Jewish person,
right,
pays a Jew only half. For a
right, that's the case.
But a goy would have to pay 100%.
Theoretically 100. Right, ve'idach palga, and the other half, amar laho, he would say it's fine, right? Aite raya delav Yisrael. Ana va'atun lechun.
Prove I'm not
okay.
Jewish.
In other words, come and bring me that I'm not a Jew. Bring proof that I'm not a Jew. Okay, va'aten lechun, and then I will give you what I owe to you. Okay, and that's the end of that. And tomorrow we'll start with the new parak and the new Mishnah. Right?
Right.
Okay.
And do not let your 9-year-old daughter go to shopping on